Good evening. Welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include...
Yeah, because I mean, they're not know what store this is.
No.
Shooting part consists of basically tree shots. You gotta get
8 or 10 dances.
These stories and more coming up after this.
Every year, an area twice the size of Nova Scotia disappears into the Sahara Desert. African lands, once fertile, become barren. Nothing grows. No animals graze. But in Mali, USC-supported programs have helped villagers reclaim thousands of hectares of land. Help turn back the sands of time. I'm Bruce Coburn for USC Canada, 56 Spark Street, Ottawa.
A.J. Matthews School has a Hall of Fame set up to recognize the achievements of students at the school. I spoke with Doreen Benoit about the Hall of Fame. Ms. Benoit, can you tell us how long you've been having the Hall of Fame here at the school?
To my recollection, Dave, this is the third year that it's been in progress.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about the Hall of Fame?
Well, basically, the Hall of Fame is just a way that we use to teacher from each class passes to the office. Because every child does something well, and even though they may never get the top grade or get the best mark in something, but they do good work, and we try to recognize everybody.
Okay, so what type of things earn a spot on the Hall of Fame?
Well, it can go from 100% under spelling recall to good penmanship to doing well on tests. You see here are students who wrote their letters in really good format without any mistakes. And this person here had 100% on her social studies project. Another student had 100% on spelling recall, and one had 95% on his multiplication facts. For that child who got 95 on his multiplication facts, that was a big achievement for him. And so we try to look at the child and pinpoint what's a great achievement for that child.
So does it seem like the Hall of Fame is getting some students, encouraging them to work more, work harder?
Children love to get to the Hall of Fame. I know my children have been there, and they come home, they're very excited about it. I pass down the corridors in the primary section, and only yesterday a child said, "I love hearing Ms. Benoit announce the hot people on the Hall of Fame." And she said, "I've been on there twice," you know, so they are excited about it, and they do like it.
So in addition to having the little certificates on the wall, they also get their names announced?
Yes, I announce their names usually every Monday afternoon. And we've had a little bit of a problem with teachers sometimes forgetting to pass in the... Now, I don't, so sometimes a class hasn't been recognized as often as they should have been, and we're working on that as a staff. That's one of the commitments we've made ourselves this term, is that we're going to make sure that we pass items in. And this week, every teacher had their items in on time, which was nice.
Okay, Ms. Benoit, is there anything else you'd like to add about the Hall of Fame?
Well, the Hall of Fame goes hand in hand with another program that we have in the school, and that's called the CCC program. The Hall of Fame focuses on the academic performance of the students. The CCC program focuses on the behavioral aspect of students, like cooperate. CCC stands for cooperation, courtesy, and cleanliness, and we focus on that in the same way. Only students get get recognized as a class for that. So one class each week is recognized for getting the most CCC awards, and they get then to choose an activity of their choice for like something like a film or go skating for a period or something of that nature, just as recognition for good work and courtesy, cooperation, kindness.
Okay, Ms. Benwell, we'd like to thank you for speaking with us today.
Thank you.
Dr. Rick Gibbons, Minister responsible for wildlife for the province, announced changes to the licensing requirements for first-time hunters.
The long guns, which is what most people around Burjo have, rifles and shotguns, can unloaded, and they can either be locked up or made inoperable, as seen a rifle.
We'd like to remind you again that this course will be offered again as soon as enough people register.
The shooting part consists of basically tree shots. You gotta get 2 shots at a tree into a life-size target of a deer. There could be people down on the other side of the hill fishing, and there's a good chance that a bullet could hit off a rock and ricochet in some.
This course is 8 hours in length with a 20-minute one-on-one practical exam and a 50-question written exam. To pass this part, you're required to answer at least 40 questions correctly. C68 and a whole lot more, so please stay tuned. Stay with us. There's more of This Week in Review still to come.
Welcome to Label Smart, our nutrition labeling quiz. Our guests for today are Mr. Baxter and Mr. Franklin. When it comes to dietary fats, moderation is the way to go. Now, tell me, many foods claim that they are reduced in fat. Can you trust that these claims are true?
I don't trust anything these days.
These claims are true. When a claim about fat is made, the label must give a lot of information.
Excellent. This label shows us that this fat-reduced sausage contains 4 grams of fat in a serving. How much is that?
The same amount of fat is in 1 teaspoon of butter or margarine, in a serving of 3 slices.
Oh, that's easy.
To be label smart is really easy, and choosing lower fat foods more often is the key to healthy eating.
What about a higher fat choice once in a while?
No problem. Don't sell your barbecue.
The smart eater is label smart. A message from the National Institute of Nutrition.
Shoplifting has been an ongoing problem here in Burgeo, a problem that has been increasing over the past year or so.
Dave, I've been here approximately 3.5 years, and I found that in the last 6 to 8 months, we've had a marked increase in people who have been caught shoplifting. Whether that means there's an increase in shoplifters or that the shop owners are becoming a little better at detecting shoplifting, I'm not
Store this.
No, this is the aspirin box on the shelf, right?
Can you finish it all?
Yeah.
Section 334 of the Criminal Code would cover that, and that's a charge pertaining to theft. It would be described as theft under $5,000, and that's considered what we call a dual procedure offense. We can proceed either by way of indictment or by way of summary conviction. Either way, it's a criminal code charge, and I would suggest that it's hardly worth the risk when you compare it to having a criminal record compared to the types of gains that people are making by taking things from stores.
Huh?
So you're getting some items like this in other stores as well? Or?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. Well, like I was at riffs, but I mean, you can't tell them nothing there because they give away.
They what?
Because it did give away at riffs, right?
Yeah, because I mean, they're not know what store it is.
The issue of the future of healthcare has been an ongoing one here in Burgeo in recent weeks. Minister of Health Lloyd Matthews announced this past week that no decisions have been made regarding the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Every day here in Burgeo, we hear about someone leaving to find work or to retrain. Well, this week we have an interview with a former resident who recalls the Burgeo of years ago. Speaking with me today is John Parsons. John, I understand you were originally born here in Burgeo?
Yes, born here.
Okay, and it's been a number of years, I understand, since you lived here?
Yes, first lived Burgeo, age of 14.
Okay, so I guess you can notice a lot of changes in Burgeo.
Well, it's a town now, it's a village then.
Okay, are there any landmarks around here that stand out from when you lived here?
Oh yes, there's a lot.
Okay, can you tell us?
Really a lot. The houses, some of them's cut down. The same old church, they built the United Church, the Methodist Church, when I was growing up. Remember Billy Anson on the Highland up there in Muddy O. Used to call him Cousin Billy at the time there. He was the boss on building the Methodist Church. And the school, of course. There was no hospital there then, them days. I helped to lay the foundation of the old hospital. And we put a pond in for Clement to saw his ice. No electricity, you see. Put the pond just up over the hospital there, called Clement's Pond. Us workers from Clement's put it there. Well, working for the hospital didn't, but Mr. Clement had a say in everything here, see, at that time.
You mentioned that you were at the lodge recently. Did you notice many changes
Oh, yes.
in the building itself?
I sure did. For what few was there, you could practically count them on your hand. When I was a boy growing up here, there was a big crowd that marched out. Didn't call it praise in them days, they call it praise now. Just a Hornies march. The biggest march I saw here was on the coronation of King Edward. That's before George's day. There was lots of medals there then. And I remember right, that Peter Benoit, we called him. He had about the most medals. He served in the Navy in the First War.
Okay, you're wearing a number of medals here today too. Can you tell us where you served?
Well, I was in the Army first. I went in the early part of the war there. And after I was discharged, disability discharged, I joined the Merchant Navy. As you see here, there's my Christie. Now this is what they call a Legion blazer. I have two of them. I have one with Legion and one with Merchant Navy. Now, Legion covered all, but since the Merchant Navy was identified, about a year and a half ago, then we had formed a organization called the MN, Merchant Navy Association, you see there. Now there is the pins that was presented to us, you see. This is Merchant Navy. Now this is Army.
Okay.
And yes, served in the Merchant Navy until the war ended. But I've been back to Burjo a few times. For instance, my wife died back in '43. I was here just before she died. Then I joined the Baccaloo. I got in Argentia and got the word that my wife passed away peacefully. So I come up to Bellorum and come to Turnsville and got one of these small boats to take me up to Bellorum, and from Bellorum I got to Glencoe. And I came up the coast. They held the body 8 days till I got here.
So I guess during your time in the Army and the Navy, I guess you've done a lot of traveling?
Oh, yes, we travel all right. Now, in the Army, we travel Army-wise, ground sheets called truck convoys. We had to go to all parts of the mainland and camp on our ground sheets. Do you ever see a Army ground sheet?
No.
Well, us soldiers all had the ground sheet. It was like something like the old days when the elderly ladies wore the big shawls over their shoulders and big long skirts to their ankles. I should say to the road, because they came right down Dragon Road, some of them. It was like that. The ground sheet was rubber, you see, same color of our uniforms, and we had to sleep on them certain times of the month and hours, whatever, you know. We'd be up from the ground sheets. We'd wake up around 5. We had to get out then and get on the march. It was pretty hard training, you know. Now, I was here. I lived here in Burgeo. I think it's one of the first disasters I seen was the drowning of Annie Cooley from Fox Island. She was being taken to court just before Magistrate Small. She was being taken to court by a lady here by the name of Lloyd Anderson. That was old Uncle John Anderson's daughter. And she was going to be sentenced in the afternoon. Her sentence would have been $10. She was working with Cunningham's here right by Benfield's post office here. Warvis, I should say. And she's in the basement washing laundry, making clothes. And she disappeared. So Mrs. Cunningham went down and she was gone. So old Uncle George Inson from the Reach, he was linesman at the time. He was coming down, going to John Moulton's. He saw this white off there from the little point down below the Cunningham's, or should I say Benfield's, eh? And he come around, he got a long stick, and he went off in the water to his hips. And he got out of this white thing, pulled in, it was a woman. Then they found Annie Coley. Rather go back in the court in the afternoon to be sentenced, she committed suicide. Now, her father, Artley Coley, from Fox Island, came up here. I understood at that time he brought a gun with him. Would have been a muzzleloader, of course. That he was going, anybody hid Malloy away at that time. And he took his daughter Annie back to Deer Island, where he buried her. I know more than that, pretty bad, tough to talk with some of it too, about Burgeo.
Okay, Mr. Parsons, so we'd like to thank you for coming in and sharing some of your memories of Burgeo with us.
Well, it's nice to come and talk to you people.
Stay tuned, there's more of This Week in Review coming up after this.
Dear Mrs. Coleman, you don't know me, but I know you know my old red house at the end of the lane. Please forgive me for tracking you down, but I had to thank you. I'm not sure what inspired your kindness. Oh, it's a godsend. Since my wretched hip surgery, just getting to the end of the lane and back takes nearly half an hour, and sometimes the pain just isn't worth it. You brought me something much more important than newspapers. You brought me the understanding that it's the small, the simple things that really help people.
If you're doing just a little, you're helping a lot. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Off the rack. This week as we scanned our tape racks, we came across some Fun in the Sun from 1987. How many of these school students can you recognize from the primary sports day held in June of 1987?
Let's go!
Travis, Maurice, Warren, and David Benoit.
David Benoit.
Good.
You get your ribbons out of school, okay?
Harvesting in Iceland began in 1967, and at present between 15 and 16,000 tons.
And I'll be back again next week with This Week in Review. Next week's program will be followed by a second Gospel Country, courtesy of our friends at Ramia Broadcasting. Stay tuned now for The Bandwagon. For This Week in Review, I'm Dave Cooper. Good night.